driven deep to right field off the bat of Dominguez. There it goes! See ya!
Well, the season may be over, but there's still lots to talk about. In September, the Yankees called up several of their top prospects, and we got extended looks at some of our young players. Tonight, we'll give out grades for all of the Yankee rookies this season, and we'll talk about what's next as the Yankees look ahead.
Welcome to Yankee Stadium.
Just when they thought I was out, they pull me back in.
A good evening, everybody. How are you? Welcome back. We are early in the Major League Baseball playoff schedule, but we've already had 4 sweeps. And the American League East got humiliated. So much for the toughest division in baseball. Pokemon Gamer says, hey, I'm excited. I'm excited too. It's going to be a ton of fun tonight. We are not quite to the hot stove. So before we get to which players that the Yankees may or may not pursue this winter, we've got to take an inventory on what we've already got in-house. So before we get started, I've got a ton of voicemails to get to. So every Saturday for the rest of October, we're going to do an off-season voicemail show. You can vent about the season. You can talk about, which rookies you like, which veterans you hate, which veterans you love, who you want to bring in as a free agent, who you should trade for, propose your own trades, all that good stuff. Call in, and we will be doing 11 a.m. shows all October. And then I'll be doing a midweek show every week of October throughout the postseason, probably Wednesday or Thursday, depending on my schedule, but I'll give you guys a little bit of notice. I usually schedule these things the morning of, so you'll be able to check it out, know it's coming. And if not, you can always watch it on replay. But tonight, I want to take a look back at all of the seasons that our rookies had this year and kind of see if we can pencil some guys in for various spots next year and maybe see if some guys aren't really a great fit. Maybe some guys need some more time in the minor leagues. And obviously, all of this stuff is subject to change based on what management does. They are currently meeting in Tampa, and anything could come out of that. Anything. We might see a team that decides to run it back with all of their young guys and see what they've got. Or we might see them decide, hey, look, we want to go out and we want to get Yamamoto and Soto and whoever else, and we're willing to deal anyone and spend anything to get there. Neither one of those things would surprise a Yankee fan who's been watching for the last 30 years or so. We've seen the Yankees have awful off seasons, a lot of them recently. But we've also seen them have years where, back more primarily when George was in charge, you go out and you get A-Rod and Gary Sheffield in the same offseason. 2009, Hal's first year as the principal owner. You go out and you get Teixeira, CC Sabathia, and A.J. Burnett, preparing to open a new stadium with a bang, led to a World Series. So there's a wide spectrum of possible outcomes. And I've done a number of videos that discuss what the Yankees can possibly do this offseason. And without exception, every video has comments from, Orioles fans or Diamondbacks fans or whoever fans. And those comments usually go something like this. The Yankees need to stop buying players and just play the kids and rebuild like a normal team. And to a certain degree, I agree with that sentiment. But here's the problem. Garrett Cole is going to be 33 years old. Aaron Judge is going to be 32 years old. How much of these guys' prime years are we willing to waste while we wait for Everson Pereira to develop, right? Or Oswald Perez. Good prospects, but are they going to be at the top of the league next year? I don't know. I don't expect them to be. So it would make sense for us to choose which players fit in best now as part of the solution to winning while these guys are still in their prime, and to use the rest of them to go out and get players to supplement the Garrett Coles and the Aaron Judges. 69 watching on the stream. Do we really expect Garrett Cole and Aaron Judge to have their bodies stand up for the next several years? I mean, every pitcher, it seems, breaks down in their mid-30s these days, especially guys who throw hard. And pretty much every dominant pitcher has to eventually kind of reorganize who they are. We saw CC Sabathia have to do it. We saw Mike Messina have to do it. Great pitchers that had to go from being power pitchers to being more, finesse, mix and match, learn to get away without as much velocity. And you might say, well, Mike Messina wasn't a power pitcher. Go back and look at his strikeout numbers. He was definitely a strikeout pitcher. So we've got to figure out a way to blend the youth that we have with some better pieces. And I think the proper thing and the proper way to begin this is to evaluate the players that we have, that we did use, that we got to see down the stretch. We're going to look at their StatCast numbers, and we're going to say, grades for each guy and comments on each guy, thoughts on each guy, and whether or not we should keep them, whether or not they fit into the plans for next year. And I don't have my water. Hang on just a second. All right. I should have been prepared. It's been a few days since we've done a podcast, so allow me to ease back into it. I've been doing some work. I've been rebuilding my desk. I had to install some wires behind the wall. Been a real pain in the ass, but we're good to go now. We're up in 4K. So we're going to begin with Anthony Vulpi, but first a quick shout out to the sponsor of tonight's episode, sponsor of every NYY Recaps episode, Game Time. You see the Game Time app on your screen along with the code NYY Recaps. So here's the deal. I've used Game Time several times now, have not had any issues. I love it. I used it for recently tickets to go see A Christmas Carol, which is a play that my wife and I both love. And I like the Scrooged version with Bill Murray a little bit more, but she's more of a traditional theater gal. We got tickets to see Duke football game, Jerry Seinfeld. So lots of great stuff on the Game Time app. Download the app to your phone or other smart device. You can not just see baseball, but all sports, concerts, theater, comedy. You name it, you can find it on Game Time, because getting tickets to your favorite events should not be stressful. They have rainout prevention, job loss prevention, all that stuff, or protection, I'm sorry. And look, if you use the code NYY Recaps, you can get $20 off your first purchase. Game Time. Lowest price on last-minute tickets, guaranteed. Big shout-out to those guys. We got a lot of comments. People talking Bader in the chat, the guy that we got for Jordan Montgomery, who is now making a case for a $100 million contract. And I've seen a few baseball writers say that Jordan Montgomery is somebody the Yankees should consider bringing back. And I agree that they should definitely look into it, because I'm a big Jordan Montgomery guy. But first, we're going to talk rookies tonight. Let's begin with Anthony Vulpi. We kept saying most of the year, well, he'll probably put it together and end up with a 230, 240 batting average. That never quite materialized. He finished at 209. The on-base percentage concerning, 283, but the 24 stolen bases, despite the low on-base percentage, shows you the kind of speed that he's got. If he could get on base at a 350 clip at some point, he's a 50 steal guy. And he'll probably hit more home runs, too. 600 plate appearances. We just got word from, I forget the writer, that Aaron Judge basically was opposed to Anthony Vulpi being sent back down to the minors. At any point, they wanted him to grind it out in the major leagues and develop at the major league level, even though he was struggling. Now, you see his base running value is the one place where he's fantastic. Fielding run value for a rookie, damn good. Now, if you look at his spray chart, this is something that it actually makes me feel pretty good about Anthony Vulpi, because you see he uses the whole ballpark. Line to line, he's got home runs to both sides of the ballpark. He can hit the ball out to center field. He's picked up base hits to right field, center field, and left field. Infield hits, he's ripped some doubles down the line. That spray chart, hopefully, will only get better. As he gets more hits, it's going to be ridiculous. He could be one of those guys, if he stops whiffing so much, that is impossible to shift against, because he drives the ball all over the ballpark. Now, you look at his StatCast numbers, you can see the barrel percentage is great. well, it's above average. Let's say great's a little strong. Hard hit percentage, very good. Sweet spot percentage, very good. The things that concern you are the whiff percentage, strikeout percentage, and obviously the fielding was solid. If you go down and look at his fielding numbers, the range is well above average, but it's the arm strength that holds him back a little bit. I'd imagine he's going to spend some more time trying to strengthen that arm this winter, but maybe one day he's a second baseman. Considering his full season, we did a number grade about a week ago, and I think we landed on 5.5 as his out of 10 score. But on a typical grade scale of A to F, I have to give him a C. He's right middle of the pack. I think he was above average in everything, but the strikeouts were just enormous. So he needs to get better at that. Ultimately, I'm still confident in what Vulpi can give us next year. David Coniglio says, I'm worried about Vulpi. I'm not sure he'll be a real hitting threat. C grade. So we are aligned on the grade. Pokemon says he can't hit the dang baseball. Did strike out quite a bit this season. But again, I'm confident in the type of player he was, or type of player he is. One thing to consider that is sort of redeeming to him is he barely spent any time at AAA. So he basically skipped over AAA, did this all at the major league level, and I expect him to get much better next year. He might not ever be a 300 hitter, but if he can hit 250 with the power he's got, it's going to only improve as he gets stronger and goes through the league and gets more confident. He's going to be a 30-30 guy. Pair that with solid defense, 250 average, maybe scoot him to second base and his defense gets even better. It's hard to beat that. All right, let's scoot on over to Oswaldo Cabrera. Oswaldo Cabrera was probably the guy who disappointed me the most of anybody this year. I really expected him to have a monster season. You look at the plate appearances, it's not like it's a small sample size either. He came up to bat 330 times this year. He hit just .211. And if you look at all of the batting metrics, whether it's average exit velocity, barrel percentage, hard hit percentage, sweet spot percentage, they're all well below league average. You see it's blue and it's well below the center line. Now, chase percentage, whiff percentage, strikeout percentage, not so bad. You go to his arm strength, very good arm. We knew that from last year. You go to his sprint speed, 62nd percentile. So well above average, about 12% above league average. Range, not great. What's interesting is the arm value, despite being strong, is down. That could tell you that his throws are not accurate. We lost internet for a second. So for those of you who were watching and noticed that, I stopped mid-sentence for a few minutes. I promise there was no alien invasion. No one assassinated me. I'm still here. I'm still with you. The problem was the internet went out in my house, which never happens. It never happens. I've lived here since 2018, and I think only maybe 2 or 3 times have we lost internet, once this year. Well, that's the way it goes sometimes. So we were in the middle of talking about Oswaldo Cabrera, and I was giving him a D-. The only reason I didn't give him an F is because he did play a lot of different positions, and because he did take the field a lot. When called upon, he played, and he played hard. He hustled. He tried to make things happen. He played small ball whenever possible. But I think in terms of just sheer results, you can't give him a passing grade. The effort is what bumps him up to a D-. Just a whisker from an F grade. All right, let's talk about Oswald Peraza. Now, Oswald Peraza had more plate appearances than I thought. 191 plate appearances. He had a 191 batting average, 2 home runs, 4 stolen bases, 33 hits. And if you look at the StatCast data, it's very underwhelming. Now, he's not qualified, but that's a lot of blue. You see a lot of soft contact. Doesn't hit it very hard. doesn't particularly hit it on the sweet spot. The one thing he's good at is not chasing, but he doesn't make a lot of contact anyway. So he misses balls in the zone, which is not great. Arm strength, well above average. 74th percentile, and speed, 84th percentile. So the athleticism is there. But you look at that average exit velocity, 87 miles an hour. Last year, 81.6. And barreled just 5 balls out of 721 pitches that he saw. It's hard to give him a passing grade. Honestly, I have to give him a D as well. Just because he got a little bit better towards the end. He hit a couple of home runs. He had a nice stretch where he hit about 280. Now, a lot of this was he had ditched the leg kick in his swing. And right at the end of the season, he added the leg kick back in, started to have more success. When we think about whether or not we're going to keep Oswald Peraza, I would love to keep Oswald Peraza. But he hasn't done enough to me to warrant taking over as a starting position player. If you have the opportunity to upgrade over Oswald Peraza, you should take it. Now, can he stick around as a utility guy because of his unbelievable defense and athleticism? Absolutely. Could he eventually play his way into a starting role? Absolutely. Somebody gets injured, he could rake. But you can't count on him just because he just didn't hit much. And this is partly the Yankees' fault. The sample size of at-bats wasn't big enough. I know that Paul O'Neill is very much a fan of his swing. I think that his defense is well above average, best shortstop on the team. And we saw this big boy home run that he hit over the Uber Eats sign against the Diamondbacks on that rainy Monday towards the end of the season. That's a great swing. Very athletic. He did have a couple of injuries this year, but came back quickly. That's good. It tells me he heals quickly. He's somebody who bounces back, doesn't linger. And we've seen the arm. The arm is tremendous. So, just watch this easy throw, just a bullet. He plays second base well. The fact that he can play multiple positions gives him value. You could stick him at second base, shortstop, or third base, and he'll be an above-average defender. But to me, you can't count on him, as of right now, to have any starting position. Now, let's talk about Austin Wells. Austin Wells, probably the best left-handed prospect that the Yankees have introduced since Greg Bird. Now, obviously, Dominguez is a switch hitter, and Spencer Jones has not made it to the major leagues yet. But Austin Wells is a purely left-handed bat, showed some big-time pop. You see these fly balls on the upper right of your screen here. These are big boy home runs. And he's also got opposite field power. You saw a couple of balls hit. You got the home run. I believe it was in Toronto, opposite field. He hit one off the wall in Houston, opposite field. Now, you look at the numbers, he did kind of whiff a little bit. Chase rate wasn't great, but that barrel percentage, even though he doesn't qualify, and the average exit velocity, those are encouraging. Strikeout percentage, above average. Walk percentage, not good enough. Now, you look at his defense, and even though you hear how great a catcher he is, the numbers don't really support much other than he's a pretty good framer. Maybe league average. But again, rookie, small sample size. And sprint speed, maybe fast for a catcher, as they hate to be called, but in the 34th percentile. 24 years old, college hitter, had some very professional at-bats, 6 foot, 220 pounds, kind of got some Nick Johnson vibes. I like Austin Wells. I would consider Austin Wells right now the favorite to be the starting catcher next year. Now, the fact that Trevino's coming back and is a defensive whiz, and they like what Rortvedt gives them defensively, those are going to make that, catching competition very interesting in spring training. I think there's a potential if the Yankees make some trades this winter, seeing how they've got a couple of different prospects that they could deal from. Let me just scoot this over here. They've got a couple of different prospects. They've got Ben Rice. They've got Agustin Ramirez. You might see them deal from the catching position as a position of strength. You know, whether it's dealing Trevino, whether it's dealing Austin Wells. I doubt they're going to deal Austin Wells. Whether it's dealing one of their prospects. If they make a trade, look for them to include one of their catchers. In terms of grade for Austin Wells, I'm giving him a solid B. I think he did enough to show that he could hit at the major league level. He got better as the season went along, as September went along, and ultimately he finished at 229, 4 home runs. 4 home runs and 70 at-bats. Not too bad, especially for a catcher. So, as Jonathan Alvarez agrees, we're giving him a B. So for those of you who lost the stream earlier, we had an internet glitch, but we are back. And we've talked about Vulpi, Oswaldo Cabrera, and Oswald Perez, and Austin Wells. And next, we're going to talk about my favorite Martian, Jason Dominguez, who, to give you his grade right away, is incomplete. Now, he only played a week in the major leagues. And if you had told me before the season, or even after spring training, that he would get a week in the major leagues last year, this season, I would have signed up for it. And then if you told me that probably by mid-2024, he would be the Yankees' starting center fielder and probably their number 3 hitter, or maybe possibly their leadoff hitter at 21 years old, I would have signed up for it. Incomplete grade, but extremely promising. And again, not qualified on StatCast, but we are going to take a look at some of these numbers. They are ridiculous. Very much in the red. Barrel percentage, 17.4%. Hard hit percentage, 56.5%. Sweet spot, 43.5. He whiffed a little bit. I think he had some difficulty with changeups, major league changeups, the best changeups he's ever seen. And his walk percentage was not great, but I actually think this is one of those areas where I think the sample size hurts Dominguez, because I feel like he got called on some bad strike 3 calls that, because he's a 20-year-old kid, these horseshit umpires just kind of, didn't give him the call. Got to earn it, kid. Strike zone should be the strike zone. But overall, he finished at 258 with 4 home runs. First Yankee rookie to hit 4 home runs in a span of 7 games. And obviously, the bright spot of the bunch. I think, as Gian Turlato says, lightning in a bottle.
Bing!
I really feel like he's going to be back by July next year, and this will be a distant memory. Now, you look at somebody like Bryce Harper. He got back quick, but he was already an MVP candidate. He was an MVP winner. And so he was able to just jump back in. And even he didn't get his power back right away. Somebody like Dominguez, seeing as how he hasn't really even played much at AAA, what they're going to do is they're going to let him complete his rehab fully. And then they're going to send him to AAA. I guarantee it. They're going to option him for a week or two to get going, to get into a groove. But I believe we'll see him in July of next year. And we'll have him for the stretch run. And I expect him to be just as good, if not better. I think that not having the use of his right arm for the next several weeks to lift weights and things like that might actually help him to slim down a little bit. It might actually help him to be a little bit less muscle-bound. He is kind of big for a kid, for a 20-year-old. We've seen the younger Dominguez where he was very lean. I believe if he gets back to that leanness a little bit, it'll even bring back some of his speed, because he's young enough where he can regain some of that speed if he dropped a few lbs. But he makes hard contact, switch hitter, great bat speed. Defensively, we didn't see much of him, and obviously the arm, we can't judge the arm because he just, quite frankly, didn't have enough opportunities. We don't know how injured he was. He was playing hurt for a couple of days, had to make a couple of throws, and then that last one is going to skew. He had so few throws that the last throw that he made, which died because his tendon snapped, it's going to drag down his average. So I think we're going to find out about his arm in a year or two when it fully recovers. Next guy we got to talk about is Everson Pereira. Now, Pereira is somebody that I had very high hopes for based on his minor league numbers. I don't know if they have his minor league numbers on StatCast. I don't believe they do. But he's a guy who has incredible bat speed. I think he's got some of the best bat speed on the team. I mean, that includes guys like Judge and Stanton and Dominguez. I mean, he's got great bat speed. And it's reflective in his exit velocity, 91.9 mile an hour exit velocity. So he's got the tools. The issue is he just does not make enough contact. He's literally, you can't even see the coloring of his whiff percentage or K percentage because they're so bad. He's literally like the worst in baseball. 43.1 whiff percentage. I have to give Everson Pereira reluctantly an F. The only thing really that, redeemed himself for me is the speed, 4 stolen bases, and he played pretty solid defense. But to me, he's a guy who, if somebody asked for him in a trade, I would not hesitate to move him. But other teams see exactly what we're seeing, and they're not going to just beg for this guy who whiffed so often. What's going to happen is, I believe, he's going to get sent back down to AAA. And he might be a guy who needs another year of seasoning just to kind of learn how to hit the breaking ball. Problem is, they don't throw major league breaking balls in the minor leagues, right? And it might be one of those situations where he goes back down to the minor leagues and his numbers stink because they say, hey, go down there and hit breaking balls, Practice hitting breaking balls, taking them the other way. Don't even swing at fastballs. So, and that can affect your numbers, and then that costs you your prospect rating, but it's something that you have to adjust to. You have to learn to hit breaking balls. One guy who I thought adjusted very, very well was Estevan Florial, and we're going to pull his numbers up. Obviously, great numbers in the minor leagues. You look at his numbers last year, 3 for 31, 0.97 average, just looked completely lost, couldn't hit a changeup. This year, I thought he did a much better job of, I guess, spitting on tough pitches rather than, just hacking and flailing and looking bad. His sweet spot was good. Chase percentage was good. Not a high exit velocity. Not a lot of barrels. I was impressed by his athleticism. We talked a few times this year about if somebody's a ball player. When I look at Estevan Florial, despite the numbers, when I looked at him in September, I saw a guy who's a pretty good ball player. Does he take the best routes in center field? No, but he somehow manages to track it down. Got great speed. Got a great arm. 64th percentile in arm strength. Left-handed hitter in Yankee Stadium with good size. I really think that he did enough, in my opinion, to earn the 4th outfielder job, which might even make him the starting center fielder next year or the opening day center fielder, at least until Dominguez gets back. Depending on how the roster shakes out. I mean, of the outfielders we've got, who plays defense better than he can in center field? I think Florial has done enough. In terms of grade, I'm giving him a B-. And Patrick St. Clair is in agreement. B-. Not bad. I think he's going to get better. Now, you could give him an incomplete because it wasn't a ton of playing time. I give Jason an incomplete with, roughly the same amount of at-bats. Well, Jason had half as many at-bats. Florial at least had 71 plate appearances, 61 at-bats. But he didn't get hurt. He was called up and just played and got better and looked more comfortable. So I feel encouraged. And then last but not least, maybe least, we're going to talk about Ben Rortvedt. Now, Rortvedt is an interesting guy. I mean, you look at the offensive numbers. He hit just 118, 68 at-bats, just 8 hits. 2 of them left the ballpark. Very strong young man. Good catcher. Garrett Cole likes throwing to him. They had some of the best games that Garrett Cole pitched all year with him behind the plate. However, I just don't know if the offense can be carried on a major league roster. 26 years old, absolutely nothing offensively. And it's not just the numbers. In terms of the eye test, just seem to be swinging a wet newspaper. Very, very soft contact, which is shown in the expected batting average. He did draw some walks. I thought he had a good eye for the strike zone. I thought he would be faster, but I guess catcher's just slow. But you look at him, you would think he would be faster than Austin Wells, but he's not. Now, in terms of the grade, just the fact that he caught Garrett Cole and did well. I mean, look at the framing and the caught stealing above average. They're solid. Pop time is solid. Blocks is solid. You look at what he did on defense and how he probably helped Garrett Cole win the Cy Young. I have to give him percentage points for that. How abysmal he was offensively, that ducks a lot. So I'm going to give him a C. Just a solid middle-of-the-road kind of grade. I see a lot of people giving him a D. Gene says, Rortvedt D-. Jonathan Alvarez says F. Come on, no credit for catching Garrett Cole? He did pretty well for Garrett Cole. Come on. Look, guys, I understand that we want to give the young guys more opportunities and we want to see that next generation of baby bombers do really well, but we've got to be smart about it. You know, some of these guys, I think, and the odds are that not everybody's going to make it, right? You look at these guys and you can tell from the eye test who has major league at-bats, who hits the ball hard, who looks like they're overmatched. Dominguez had no problem with breaking balls. You know, Wells showed legitimate power. I think those two guys next year are going to be starting for the Yankees a lot of games. Rortvedt, did he do enough defensively to stay on the roster? Maybe. Oswald Perez, Everson Pereira. I mean, I don't know. They could be traded. They could be in the minor leagues. They could end up as utility guys. But I'm not 100% sold on either one of them at this point. Estevan Florial, I don't think you're going to trade him because I don't think you get much for him. Anybody could have had him for free. But I do think that he has some value to the Yankees just because of their dearth of outfielders. So I could see him being on the roster. And you could say the same thing about Everson Pereira, but he really struggled offensively. And if you compare the two players offensively, I think that Pereira is about where Estevan Florial was when he came up in 2022 and hit 095 or whatever it was. I mean, Pereira hit 150. So you look at all these guys and you make the decision. Who can help me win next year and support the prime of Judge and Garrett Cole? And to me, it's Wells, it's Dominguez, it's maybe Peraza. Maybe. But not sold, as I said. As we see the home run from Rortvedt. That's the one thing you do love about Rortvedt. Left-handed hitter, Yankee Stadium. Don't have to hit it that hard. All right, guys. Sorry about the midstream outage. We lost internet throughout the whole house. All my computers were down, so it had nothing to do with the stream itself. It was just internet took a hit. It happens on occasion. Once again, get the Game Time app. Use the code NYY Recaps for $20 off. And I will see you on Saturday. Get your voicemails in. Oh, you guys want to hear some voicemails? Let's listen to some voicemails. Let's do that. Hang on.
I was watching your Yankees postpartum, and
Postmortem.
the talk is, this is Booker, the talk is they were too right-handed. I'm not a big Cashman guy. Haven't been a big Cashman guy. Wish he were gone 30 years ago.
30.
But The reason why I believe that he went to a right hand because of the shift and the Yankees going the other way. They believe the right-handers, the fielders would move to the third base shortstop side, and the hitters were taught to go the opposite way, right-handed.
Now, I will agree with you that that's kind of what the Yankees were thinking when they loaded up with righties. They've got the advantage of the short right field porch. Velocity is up. Let the ball travel. Guys like Luke Voit, remember him? Drive the ball well to right field. Giancarlo Stanton, obviously. Aaron Judge makes right field look like a Little League park. We saw him go second deck in right field for his third home run a couple of weeks ago. But having no lefties allows the pitcher to kind of fall into a pattern where they get into a groove with their sliders and stuff like that. And look, whatever it was, it just didn't work. So you could say, hey, they tried this. They had all the best intentions. Didn't work. Got to get some lefties in there. Got another voicemail here.
Hi, Derek. My name is Richard Stoll. I live over in New Jersey. My telephone number is 201-923-7394.
Oh, don't want to say your phone number there. Hang on. Sorry, I didn't realize that. Let me fast
Hi, Derek. My name is Richard
mute
Stoll.
that
I
for
live
just a
over in
second.
New Jersey. My telephone number is 201-923-7394. I just want to compliment you personally. I'm 71 years old. I was actually a 9-year-old when I saw Roger Maris hit his 61st home run at the stadium. I've been listening to baseball for years, and I just wanted to tell you something. I think you're growing into the role wonderfully.
Thank you.
In what you're doing, and you might even be the next generation's Mel Allen.
Oh,
I think next year you might find that you don't really even have to rely on the bells and whistles, because the listeners, myself, over the last couple of years, we're hanging on every word you say. So you're becoming like a Bob Costas. And I think that you're going to see that more and more as you mature into this. And I just wanted to leave that as a compliment for you and Pete also. Wonderful work. God bless you. Take care.
First of all, round of applause for you and for Pete. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Bob Costas is one of my all-time favorites. I appreciate being compared, but I would not even put myself in the same galaxy as those guys. I'm just a streamer. I got some opinions and just try and show up every day. But I appreciate it, and I appreciate the kind words. I've got a lot of those, but I also get the ones that say, Derek, I wish somebody would throw you off of the Empire State Building, so I get those too. But I appreciate the kind words whenever I can take them, and I thank you. Guys, sorry about the internet outage midstream. I'm curious to see what the stream is going to look like with the big pause in the middle, but I will see you next time.